All right, so it's been a year since I've lived in the bus, and it's early morning for me. I'm making coffee, getting ready to kind of start a job, which is weird. I was supposed to be retired, but you know, you buy property, you got to pay bills. So, um, yeah, let me show you around the place. I have been staying on my friend's property now for several months. Came here for Thanksgiving and really haven't left. So, when I come into the bus, this is the porch or whatever. There's Ranger Boy, so pretty. This has just kind of been my catch-all. I'm actually saving these for a cricket farm. This is stuff I'm composting back at the property, but kind of just throw all my crap here, which I knew I was gonna do, but I dry my bath mat here. So again, I've been living here, so because I've been living here, it's not like show quality, all super nice like I did when I first built it. I've learned a lot with how building a bus would work and how I would do things differently, but also have to take into account that I was on a specific mission, so I had a budget that I was really trying to stick to. I had a time frame that I was really trying to stick to, and that was the biggest thing. I tried to build the whole thing in 5 months. Had I spent 1 to 2 years doing everything perfectly, would have turned out way differently. But I wanted something cool, pretty nice, that would have, that would meet the timeline. And I think I ended up going to 7 months and was a few $1,000s over budget. But everything sort of seems to be functioning fine, outside of keeping myself cool. That's a whole other ball game. And the floors, kind of my fault. I have the right expansions, this and that, but the floor wasn't exactly level. I didn't take the time to level it, so I'm starting to get cracks and buckles and this and that. So I have a couple mats on the floor, but yeah, let's take a look at it really fast. I'm in the middle of making coffee, so yeah, I had to put these mats down. There's like a big crack in the floor right here. That's Roxy's mat. It's kind of the thing, but kitchen's been functioning the way a kitchen is supposed to function. This used to be all nice and organized. Now it's just crap thrown everywhere. Biggest change is I did take out the bathtub and put in a normal shower. It just matter of room, drainage. I need to get a new curtain, obviously. And I had to rip out the old floor to get the old tub out. So, one of the things that I put the tub in there thinking, it looked cool, first of all. I thought maybe I would be in situations where I had to wash clothes in there. The original plan was not to end up in South Carolina to be on my friend's property. The original plan was to be in the mountains of Tennessee and struggling to build a shelter from scratch or a house from scratch. But yeah, so since I didn't have to take that route and I have all the modern amenities that I need at my friend's place, like washer and dryer, I didn't really need to have a place to wash clothes. And it never really drained properly, so there was always a little bit of water in there and it was just kind of gross. So I did put in that normal shower. But yeah, my desk has been getting a lot of use. Yeah, again, a living here, so it's not all nice enough. I throw my files over there. Kitchen still going strong. Just boiled some water. Ranger over here, who's like the princess and the pea, always has to have a bunch of cushions under him. He spends a lot of the time on the futon, or now that it's summertime, fritters off. Didn't really have a place to store it, but also, like I was saying, Ranger is the princess and the pea. He always has to have things stacked on it, so I just kind of threw that over there. He sleeps on top of that a lot. And then, over here we got the wood stove, which came in handy this winter. It does a fantastic job at keeping this place warm. But you always have to fuel it, and you fall asleep, you wake up in the morning, fire's out, it's pretty cold in here. So since I was tied into the grid here, I was able to plug in a heater, and that helped a lot. So I kind of used the wood stove and then used the heater as a backup. Probably the biggest issue that I would say, and if you're going to build a bus to think about it, is your solar system. I went with something pretty basic because I wasn't expecting to need air conditioner or heaters or anything like that. It works fine, but when I want to run those accessories, it's just not going to work. I mean, I still don't have an air conditioner. I was about to go buy one because it is very hot here. So if you're going to be running an AC, which I think a lot of people should or would want to, you're going to really need a robust system, or you're going to need a generator, or be prepared to be plugged in somewhere. When I built this thing in Washington, there it's relatively cool. You get a few weeks out of the year where it's hot, and even on those hot days, there's lots of trees, so it was comfortable. Here, where you just have sun pounding on you all day, it turns this thing into a oven. So circulation's a big deal. This fan right here has broke. It runs on the 2 lowest settings. The process of getting it out, replacing it, and the cost of replacing it, I just haven't done it yet. This fan still kicks ass. That's a big fan down there that I use from time to time to just circulate air, but when it's hot air, it doesn't really help much. But yeah, overall, bus life has been just fine. And like I said, I've been cheating being on a friend's property. You have to build these things to survive like a constant 7.0 earthquake while you're driving down the street, or like if you're in the mountains going through like off-road situations, it exacerbates everything. So if you're going to build one, keep that in mind. Hopefully things work out. I'll be into my house not too much longer. I'm gonna guess 4 or 5 months, and then eventually I would like to probably like Airbnb this thing, which is gonna take some retrofitting and whatnot. But yeah, a year in a bus, it's easy for me. I just have me and my dogs, and it's only me that I have to worry about, but it's doable. So the things with the bus, originally on the roof I had 4 100-watt panels and 2 200-watt panels, for a total of 800 watts. I ended up just doing like an out of around, I don't know, it was dumb. I did an experiment basically to check on some panels that I bought. I bought 5.5 kilowatts of solar panels for like $300. They were used. I wanted to see how they functioned, so I decided to throw one of those on the roof. That required a whole lot of changing in the system or whatever. So now I have 2 200-watt panels and 1 450-watt panel, which didn't make much of a difference in the long run. But like I said, I was just trying to check on stuff. It also freed up a little bit more space on the roof. Not that I really needed it, but other than that, that's like the only real change outside of the ladder. So the ladder that I had on there before was made out of driftwood. It was something when I first did it, a lot of people weren't cool with it, but when they saw it in person, they thought it was like the coolest thing ever. I ended up breaking that ladder while driving through the forest in Arizona, up about an hour outside of the Grand Canyon. So I did replace it with this one. It's not nearly as cool, but it looks nice, and it's very functional. So other than that, I haven't made a lot of changes to the bus. You can always go back through the channels and or my channel and watch the original one. That kind of just gives like a full detailed layout of all the things that I did to the bus. I just wanted to basically recap and say like, hey, I've been here a year. It's kind of monumental. Drove it from the top of Washington, all the way down to the bottom of California, all the way over to South Carolina. And it was an adventure. Would have liked to have adventured a little bit more, but it got a little bit costly. Gas was no joke. I broke down a couple of times, primarily in Memphis, which took a big chunk of change. At that point, I said, you know what, I need to start working on the plan, getting things together, and by chance, I ended up in South Carolina. If you don't know the story, I broke down in Memphis. On Thanksgiving weekend, everything was going to be closed for at least 3 to 5 days. I messaged my friend that I haven't seen in like 10 plus years, who was in South Carolina. I was like, hey, I'm going to rent a car. Can I come out for Thanksgiving? He said, yeah. I came here. And at that point, I was like, you know, I wanted to be in the mountains, Tennessee. It's a lot prettier, but it makes more sense to kind of stay here because there is somewhat of a support structure here. If I was in the mountains of Tennessee, I'd be trying to figure out what to do about tractors, trailers, if I needed a second set of hands to do something. So I was like, hey, you know, it's a compromise, but it just makes more sense in the long run to try to do what I'm trying to do, knowing that I had somewhat of that support system here. My friends have trailers, they have access to tractors. If they don't, they know people that do. When I've needed a second set of hands, someone's been there for me. The people over here have been super helpful, between my friend Dwight and John, which is one of his best friends. I've, you know, become real close with them too, and you know, I've made a couple other friends, and it was just easier, especially since the original plan was to have a friend from Washington come out. She had a situation come up where she was not able to come as soon as she wanted to come. I mean, it's been a year and she still isn't here. She's supposed to be here in another few weeks. But had I been in the woods of you know, Tennessee by myself for a year, I could have done it, but it would have been a lot more difficult, and who knows how far along I would have been. So yeah, it's all worked out so far. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. And if you're checking out the farm, it's coming along. Keep watching. Hopefully progress will start getting a little cooler. I've been spending way too much time with getting the chickens ready and getting things ready for the chickens, and I don't know, I love those things. So yeah, back to breakfast.